Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom's March release is now available and there are so many fun products. If you've been enjoying their Gnome Dies, you won't want to miss their brand new Easter Gnome add-on set. I'll show you the items I received, and I do have links provided in the description box. There are some other items as well, so definitely go and check out the full release. The first item is a stamp set called Cottontail Farms. Has a sweet little bunny, the Happy Easter, and then a fun sentiment. Cottontail Farms, open daily, carrot patch, chocolate, egg hunts, and bunnies. Now currently you cannot purchase this individually. This is free with orders of $40 or more before tax and shipping, and you also have to purchase at least one item from the new release. The next item is a stamp set called Floral Bunny Ears. Now there is a coordinating die set. It just has the die to go around the ears and that little flower bouquet. I love all the sentiments on this set. And it's fun since they're not all Easter sentiments, so this would work year round. Next we have the Blessed Easter stamp set and the Blessed Easter outline dies. I love when they have the coordinating dies to go around the sentiments, and there's also a die to go around the two little bunny stamps. Lots of great sentiments. Most of them are Easter, but there are a few you could use year round as well. And then this is the item that is going to be super popular. It's the Gnome Dies Easter add-on set. This is what the die set looks like when you receive it, so you will need to snip those pieces apart. Now you will need to purchase the original Gnome Die set, and that is sold separately. Here's a look at it, and I've already cut all these apart and added them onto a magnetic board. I love the Gnome Dies, and they have been super popular. I think with every single new release, they've sold out right away. So they do have some other add-ons. Their first one was the Valentine add-on. And then last month they released their St. Patrick's Day add-on. And now we have the new Easter add-on. So many fun pieces. And if you haven't noticed, there's a little bit of a trend. I'm thinking we might see some more add-on sets throughout the year. For most of my cards in this video, I'll be using pattern paper from Sunny Studio. This is their Spring Fling 6x6 paper pack. And I'll also bring in some other pieces from Coordinating Collections by Sunny Studio. So we have dots and stripes, there's Flirty flowers, and also the Gingham pastels. And I love how all of these colors coordinate beautifully with their pastel collections. So let's get started with card design number 1. I'm using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Mojo Monday. It's number 526. My favorite pattern paper in this pack is the tulip paper. So pretty with the pink, blue, yellow, and purple flowers. I layered it first on some blue cardstock and then again on some pink cardstock. And all of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. For that small rectangle piece, I used some blue pattern paper from the Flirty Flowers collection, layered it on some blue cardstock, and I'll just adhere that in place. I am following this sketch fairly closely. For the two banners, I'm using the same pink and blue cardstock, just cutting a fishtail on the ends. Now before adhering those to the card, I will add some scrap cardstock pieces where it goes off of that blue floral paper, and that will just help keep everything at the same level. So for the top, I have to cut some very tiny little pieces. I'll add some liquid adhesive before adhering those scrap pieces in place. And my favorite liquid adhesive is Barely Art Precision Glue. I love the fine metal tip on the glue. And there is a little bit of wiggle room before it really adheres. So now I can attach that blue banner. Again, putting that scrap cardstock piece on the right side and then adhering it in place. I cut out a stitch circle die cut, used some white shimmer cardstock just for that little extra detail. Before adhering that in place, I'll put a scrap cardstock piece on the right side of the circle where it goes off of that floral paper. So this is where I'll be adding my fun little gnome. I won't show the assembly of all of the gnomes since I do make quite a few in this video, but I wanted to do at least one so you could see how easy they are. So there's the background piece. It really doesn't matter what color cardstock you use for that since you are covering up the entire piece. This gnome will have the bunny hat with both the ears up. And I decided to also have the light purple for the ears and the gnome's beard and mustache. For the center of the ears, I used some purple glitter cardstock. I'll adhere both of those in place using some liquid adhesive. It does help to have a pair of reverse tweezers since some of these pieces are fairly small. For the mustache, I decided to pop it up using some thin foam dimension. I'll adhere that right underneath the hat. For the nose, I'll put liquid adhesive mostly on the bottom portion of the nose and then adhere it on top of the mustache. I'll be popping up the feet. These feet are so adorable. On the left foot, I already had that foam square on the back and it wasn't very sticky. I think it had got stuck to something, so I did put that drop of liquid adhesive just to make sure it didn't fall off. Now my little gnome will be holding a basket full of sparkly Easter eggs. I cut out 5 Easter eggs and I don't have an egg die, so instead I used the nose from one of Jaded Blossom's Octagon die sets. I believe it was one of the Christmas sets. There's a tiny little oval and I thought it worked perfectly for an egg. I know Jaded Blossom does have a small egg die. I believe it's part of their spring banner die set, but I don't have that one. So instead I was flipping through all their other dies to see what I could substitute. And when I saw that small oval, I knew it would be perfect. I put liquid adhesive on the back of my little gnome and adhere it to the circle. Didn't have quite enough adhesive at the very bottom by his beard. Now before I attach the basket, I will put a couple of foam squares at the bottom. There's all those different layers from the eggs and also the basket. I want to keep that nice and level. And then for the hands, I'll just glue those toward the lower portion of the basket. I think it's so cute. It looks like he's peeking into the basket, even though you can't see his eyes. For the sentiment, I've already stamped this out. You're irresistible. And I used one of Jaded Blossom's mini tag die sets for that little stitched sentiment piece. To finish off the card, I'm adding some Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the silver holographic color in the mini circle style. They are super sparkly and I like how there's 3 different sizes. If you need some bling and you don't want to have that extra dimension, Love from Lizi peel-offs are a great alternative. So there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out, and I did make 2 using this design. And I almost forgot to add that little bit of highlight using a white gel pen. I know there are lots of purple fans out there, so I figured I'd make at least one purple gnome. For card design number 2, I'm using a card sketch from PhotoPlay Sketches. This is number 50. I have some fun, colorful egg paper for the background. And I've already stamped the sentiment on some orange gingham pattern paper. Just layer that piece on some orange cardstock. And this sentiment is part of the free stamp set that you can receive if you meet those qualifications I mentioned earlier in the video. I'll layer the background piece on some blue cardstock. And for that little tab that's on the right side, I'm using one of the tag pieces from the mini tag number 2 set. I just cut it in half. Since you're not going to see the little hole on that tag, I thought that worked out perfectly. Put my card front onto a card base, and for this card I am leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For that strip that goes across the card, I use some white shimmer cardstock. Before adhering it in place, I will put some scrap cardstock pieces on the right and left side where it goes off of that orange pattern paper. So now I'll add several different die cut images. I have some eggs and also some chocolate bunnies. And I did use some brown pearlescent cardstock for the bunnies to give it a little more realistic chocolate look. I cut out the eggs from 3 different pattern papers just so they all look different. So I'm starting with one of the eggs, gluing it down, then I'll add a bunny. For the egg in the middle, I am popping it up using some foam dimension, but only on the area where it's not going on top of that other chocolate bunny. I'll adhere the final egg on the right side, and then the last chocolate bunny, I'll also pop that up with some foam dimension. I love the gnomes, but it's also fun to use some of the dies without the gnomes on your card. So there's my finished card, and again, I did make 2 using this design. But don't worry, I have more gnome cards coming. For card design number 3, this is a pattern paper sheet from that Sunny Studio pack. I love this beautiful cherry blossom tree with the mountains in the background. I feel like I'm almost cheating by not creating that background myself. Now, I already stamped out the sentiment. I used my mini Misty to make sure I got a good impression. This is Easter's on its way. I already have most of the gnome already assembled. I'm just adding the little chocolate bunny for him to hold. I used some pink polka dot paper for the hat and white shimmer cardstock for the ears. Now I will be popping up the gnome using some thin foam dimension. Now you can see I didn't finish the feet off. It's just that little stub at the moment. I wanted to figure out a way to make some bunny feet. So I searched through the dies, found this oval, which I believe is Santa's nose from the Octagon Christmas add-on set, and it's the perfect size. So I did pop up the feet using some foam dimension. So add a little more dimension on the back to make sure I have some for all of the foot. Remove the release paper and I'll adhere it to the card underneath the cherry blossom tree. He looks like a happy gnome sitting underneath the tree getting ready to enjoy his chocolate bunny. To make those ovals look a little more like bunny feet, I'll be adding some Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the bubble style. It has this fun little bubble chain and also some teeny tiny circles. I'm using my tweezers to pick up those circles and add 3 of them to the top portion of the bunny foot. Then I'll do the same thing for the left foot. Put that little chain back in place, and then I'll use that same pink color, but this time the mini heart peel-offs. I'm using the largest size heart and adding it to the bottom of the foot. So now I think it looks more like a bunny foot. Also decided to add a little flower underneath the tree. The grass die is from the Octagon Easter add-on set, and the flower is from the original Gnome die set. And I did pop up the flower using some foam dimension. So just add the center of the flower. And then to finish off the card, wanted to add just a little bit of detail to the pretty pink flowers. So I'm using the Morning Dew Nouveau Crystal Drop color, adding it to the center of just those larger flowers. And then I'll also use the white gel pen and add those little highlights to my gnome and the flower. I love this card. It's definitely one of my favorites. But do let me know which card is your favorite. The gnomes are so easy and fun to create. I had to stop at one point though, since this video is almost 30 minutes long. But it's nice to have some of my Easter cards already made, and it's only March. I also love this pattern paper with the beautiful scene. There is another one in the pack, and I'm using it for the next card. So it's a beautiful sunrise scene. I'll stamp the sentiment directly onto the pattern paper, going with Happy Easter. I love the font on this, it's so pretty. Then I'll put my card front onto a card base. The hard thing about pattern paper that has a full scene is it is designed as a 6x6 size. So you have to decide what portion you're going to cut off if you don't want to make a 6x6 card. So here's my little gnome. I already have him all assembled. Just put some of the foam dimension on the back side. Most of the foam dimension I use is very thin, but for the top portion of the foot, I am using the regular Scotch dimension, which is a little bit thicker. I'll remove the release paper and adhere my gnome to the card. And I'm not putting him right in the center. He's going to be offset to the left just a little bit. And this gnome is holding this bright yellow polka dot egg. Next, I'll add some blue and white mushrooms to the scene. And this is using the mushroom die set by Jaded Blossom. There are 3 different pieces, so I cut out the background using some white shimmer cardstock. I have blue cardstock for the background piece of the mushroom and also that front. And this is a reversible blue cardstock that I have. It has both of those colors on it. I'll glue down the first 2 mushrooms using liquid adhesive. Put 1 to the left of the gnome and 3 of the mushrooms will be on the right side. For the last 2 mushrooms, I will put some foam dimension and just layer those in front of that background mushroom. And I'm alternating the light blue for the top portion of the mushroom and then the dark blue. Just adhere the final mushroom, and this is the tallest one. It does have some stitch detail on the stem. To finish up the card, I'll use my white gel pen and add those highlights to the gnome's hat, his nose, the egg, and also 3 small polka dots in that large circle on each of the mushrooms. I'll also add some of the Nouveau crystal drops in the morning dew color to the polka dots on the egg. So there's my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The hat on this gnome is from the original gnome set. Decided to have at least one without the bunny ears, and I used that fun blue floral pattern paper for it. For card design number 5, I have some purple gingham pattern paper for the background, and then I'm also adding a panel of white shimmer cardstock. For a little extra detail, I pulled out the gold holographic peel-offs. These are by Love from Lizi, and this is the pinstripe style. I'm using the widest width and adding one along the very inside edge of that white shimmer cardstock. I am cutting the peel-offs just a little bit wider than that white cardstock panel, but I will be trimming those off. So now I'm using my craft knife and I'm pressing the tip into the corner between those 2 crossing peel-off pieces, mitering those corners together to create this beautiful sparkly gold frame. I think I need to change my blade. It wasn't very sharp. So there's a few times I had to press it twice since I didn't cut all the way through. So once I have all those little pieces removed, I'm pressing those corners just to make sure everything still lays nice and flat. I'll put some ATG tape on the back of the white cardstock panel and add it to the light purple gingham pattern paper. I did need to trim down one side of that purple pattern paper to make sure all of the sides are even. I'll put my card front onto a card base. For this card, I'll be adding lots of the eggs. I cut out 8 of them from the same white shimmer cardstock and 1 from some gold satin mirror cardstock. I'll lay out all of the eggs first, trying to get them evenly placed. And then I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere all of the white eggs down. Now the gold egg, I do have some foam dimension on the back side, so I will pop it up. Overall, this is a very simple card design. I really like the look of the 1 gold egg with all of the white eggs around it. And then having the gold holographic peel-offs really adds that beautiful sparkle. I have just a couple more eggs to adhere in place. The sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. I used the coordinating die, so I didn't have to do any fussy cutting. And this is Hey Chickie. And I decided to adhere this down flat using some liquid adhesive. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. This card is perfect all year round. It doesn't need to be an Easter card. For card design number 6, the card sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 523. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I use in this video, I do share all of that information on my coordinating blog post, and that link is provided in the description box below. For this card, I have this beautiful rainbow background. I'm adding some green gingham pattern paper, and then that smallest rectangle, I use some of the grass pattern paper. Just layering the 2 pieces on some green cardstock. I'll add some silver holographic peel-offs to the very bottom of the card, using the widest width and also the medium width. And I do have the ends cut just a little bit wider than this panel, and I just wrap them around the back. Put some ATG tape on the back and layer this piece on some white shimmer cardstock. Then I'll add my card front onto a card base. And apparently I really like the eggs. So this is the third, maybe fourth card I've made using the fun eggs. Now for this set, I'm using both of the pieces. So I have that main background piece of the egg and also the two decorative pieces. So one has straight stripes and the other has some chevron stripes. And I'll just glue those two pieces together. So I have the pattern paper on the back and then the solid cardstock for that front piece. I'll be adding the 3 eggs onto the card, and I'm not following this sketch exactly, I am changing it up. So on this sketch it has those 3 circles on the right. Well, I'm substituting that and putting those 3 eggs along the bottom. I'm also adding a patch of grass in front of each of the eggs, and the grass die is from the Octagon Easter add-on set. So in some places I am putting some foam dimension, just trying to keep everything nice and level. So I'll add the final egg, the little blue one. I'll add some thin pieces of foam dimension at the lower portion of the grass, liquid adhesive on the top, and adhere it in front of the blue egg. For the sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Decided to go with Happy Easter. I used some Catherine Pooler ink. I believe this is the Pucker Up color. And then just for a little extra detail, I'm adding a little banner at the very top of the card. And this is using Jaded Blossom's banner die set. It is a little bit longer than the card, since it is designed to go either vertical or horizontal on a card. So I'll just flip this over and trim off the extra. And then one final finishing touch, I thought I'd add a little pink sparkly bow to the pink egg. Sometimes an Easter egg needs just a little bit of sparkle, especially if it's pink. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For card design number 7, the card sketch is from OWH. This is number 192. Now this pattern paper is not from the Sunny Studio Spring Fling collection. This is from PhotoPlay. It's their Easter Joy collection. I had a little bit of it left over. I did a whole set of cards using this last year. There are a couple sentiments on the Blessed Easter collection that are a little more Christian, so I thought I would use some different pattern paper for those cards. I selected 2 different pattern papers from the collection. I have the purple paper with the Christian fish for that bottom strip. And then the main focal paper, this beautiful arrangement with lots of lilies and other flowers. The background paper, I'm using some of the white shimmer cardstock. And then I have some light purplish pink cardstock for the piece that goes behind that floral bouquet. Layering everything on some dark purple cardstock. So I'll put my card front onto a card base. And this is a very simple card design. I'm really following that sketch fairly closely. Now for this sentiment, I've already stamped this out. This is wishing you a blessed Easter. I used the outline die, and then I cut out a second piece from some purple iridescent cardstock. I'll add that sentiment to that outline piece, just offsetting them slightly so you can see just a peek of that iridescent cardstock. And then I'll adhere it in the lower right-hand corner. I did add a foam square in the lower right-hand corner of the sentiment where it goes off of that floral paper. But for the rest, I just use liquid adhesive. And for just a little extra detail, I'm adding a small banner in the upper left-hand corner. And I just cut this by hand. You can always use a little banner die if you have one. So there is my finished card, and this time I made a total of 4. For card design number 8, I'll be using Jaded Blossom's Sunburst Card Mat die. This is so much fun. I cut out the frame twice using 2 different pattern papers. One is this tone-on-tone design with the floral in the background. I put double-sided tape on the back side of the frame, and now I'll inlay all of these pieces to create this fun sunburst design. And I'm alternating the 2 patterns. Now I was trying to alternate them so it was the real bright color flowers and then that blue tone on tone. But at the very end I did have to put 2 of the same pattern next to each other. Now I'll remove the release paper on the back side and add this piece onto some blue cardstock. And I think the opposite side with the rainbow and the yellow pattern paper looks pretty also. This is just a really fun die. Next, I'll put my card front onto a card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. So I have most of my gnome all assembled. Of course, I have a pink hat, did the white ears with the pink on the inside. And this gnome will be holding a little stuffed bunny. So instead of it being chocolate, I used one of the Gingham pattern papers and I went with the pink. So I'll just have the gnome holding that sweet little stuffed pink bunny. I put some foam dimension on the back of the bunny, just not on the ear, since the ear does go on top of the gnome's mustache. Then I'll add the little hands, and I am putting some foam dimension on the back so the hands are popped up slightly. And there is my sweet little gnome. Now instead of putting the gnome on the circle for that background, I decided to add him onto a vellum oval die cut. So I'm putting some foam dimension on the back side of the gnome. Remove the release paper and I'll attach the gnome onto that oval first. I won't attach the oval to the card until that gnome is on there. That way I know where I can add some adhesive and you won't be able to see it through the vellum. So once the foam is on that oval, I just flipped it over, put some liquid adhesive on the back, making sure to just put it where the gnome is. Even though there isn't any adhesive along the very outside edge of that oval, there's still enough that this will stay on the card nicely. The sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. We have hippity hoppity. I used another tag from the mini tag 2 die set for the sentiment. For this card, I decided to add some blue gem stickers, and these are from Honeybee Stamps. Just put a few of them around the gnome, and then I'll also add those little highlights using a white gel pen. There is my finished card, and I did make a total of 4. 2 of them have that tone-on-tone blue paper for the frame, and the other 2 have that bright colored floral paper. So you can see how they look just a little bit different. I also used different skin tones for 3 of the gnomes and changed the color of their beard. Wanted to have more variety. The gnome dies are so fun, easy to assemble, and the possibilities are endless. You can mix and match all these different pieces. Now here's another look at the 20 cards I made using Jaded Blossom's March 2022 release. The release includes lots of great Easter and spring sets, including the new Easter add-on set for the Gnome Dies. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links provided in the description box below. The Gnome Dies are very popular, so if you are wanting to purchase them, I would suggest not waiting. Jaded Blossom sells so many fun products, lots and lots of stamps and dies. They really do have something for everyone. If you haven't checked out their website before, I highly recommend it. The owners are very kind and they have excellent customer service, and I love that their products are made here in the US. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.